Good morning, ET viewers. About 22 months ago, the world declared COVID-19 as a pandemic, something that had not been seen at least in our lifetimes and in the last 102 years since the Spanish flu, as we have read about. The challenge that most of the citizens witnessed has never been witnessed before. Over this period, the world and India alike have been on a completely roller coaster ride. India, which was cruising at about a 6% GDP growth rate prior to COVID, crashed to an all-time low of negative 7.9%, giving India a recession after nearly 40 years in the financial year 2021 that went by. However, if you look at the encouraging signs of the last 11 months of this calendar of 21, the story is of recovery. It has been primarily led completely by vaccination. Today, India alone has 120 crore Indians that have got vaccinated. 82% of our adult population has got the first dose, and about 42% of our adult population has got both the jabs. Our economy is also progressing well. We've already shown a 20.5% growth in GDP in the Q1 itself, and keenly wait for the Q2 results. Though obviously, these growths are on a lower base of last financial year. The V-shaped recovery, which erstwhile was only seen and read in economics textbooks, is finally in front of us, and all of us can witness it. If you also see the other economic indicators, GST has been rapidly and consistently growing. In the last 4 of the 5 months, GST has created a new milestone and a new high. Also, in the 8 of the 10 calendar months of this calendar, GST has crossed the 1 lakh crore mark. But if you look at the larger economic indicators, both e-way bills as well as FASTag are at their all-time high in October 2021. This is clearly showing an economic recovery. And it doesn't end with just the domestic recovery. There's also an international recovery. India's exports during this period, especially in the month of October 21, has recorded $35 billion of exports and nearly $55 billion of imports. At $90 billion in a month of merchandising trade is the highest ever in independent India. It is also expected that the economy will strengthen further, and overall the recovery and the resilience of Indians and India Inc. together will give us a GDP growth which will remain either in the high single or the low double digits for the next few years. Now, what does the economy need? It predominantly needs fuel, and the fuel in this case being land, labor, and capital. If we talk about capital, that's being pumped by the central banks across the world in the last 20 plus months, including the Indian central bank. But at the same time, organizations and companies have done a faster than expected debt recovery. So money supply is not a problem. If you look at land, India is fortunate to have abundant land, both for farm and non-farm productive use. What India definitely needs to sort out is labor. And labor is the immediate and the continued focus. Let's take a cue from what's happening in United States of America. The US recovery and the GDP in United States of America is almost at an all-time high of 4.5% in recent times. But it is showing a huge vulnerability in labor and talent during this period. United States of America is witnessing what is called an unprecedented attrition, and it's now being billed as the Great Resignation. Just in the month of August, in the USA, nearly 4.1 million workforce has resigned from their job, and that's about 3% of the deployed workforce. And this continues since. A study carried by Monster.com pegs that this number could actually be much higher. It could even be 90% for those who want to join the Great Recession, but haven't yet plunged. The Great Recession pandemic has not spared India in any manner. Talent acquisition numbers are touching record levels, even crossing the pre-COVID mark. As a result, the job has sequentially grown 11% in the month of July, and country's information technology sector has reported that nearly 52% of new hiring of highly skilled professionals has been done, which is the highest in a decade as far as India is concerned. Another study conducted by Amazon India in September 21 has revealed that 51% of job-seeking adult population wants to pursue opportunities outside of the industry that they work in or have no or negligible experience in. And 68% altogether want to leave the industry itself and go do something new. From the board of World Employment Confederation, we also deliberate regularly about on one end of the spectrum that we have 1 million open mandates in IT and in white collar in USA alone, and 2 to 3 times of open mandates in many of the geographies over pre-COVID. But there is a huge amount of reluctance in the workforce to return to work just as yet. This has started pushing and overwhelming the partner ecosystem in an extremely big way. These developments have clearly left us with some degree of introspection. First, about cultural fitment of your existing workforce and the rapidly transforming organization that we represent. Second, effectiveness of the current frameworks on appraisals and on competency mapping of the right person for the right job. Third, a clear communication system for learning and development and employee feedback during this period. This reminds us of what we've often been joking about. Earlier, our calendars used to be planned in such a way that our holidays were around our work calendar. The millennials and the youth of today wants to join work. And Manoj was talking about this just before me, the other speaker. Today, the millennials are constantly talking about having work around their personal calendars. This will bring with itself a future of challenges, but also a future of opportunities. It completely depends on what we are willing to look at. Let's build upon a few points. One, there has to be diversity of employment categories. In India, the outsourcing workforce is a paltry 0.7% against the global averages in outsourcing, which remains between 3 to 4%. Second, diversity in gender. Women workforce participation in India is below 25%. This can clearly be brought up to 35 to 40%. Third, formalization in India is poor at only 15%, and 85% of our workforce is in informal employment. This can be doubled up in just the next 9 to 10 years using technology platforms and gig platforms. While the world is recovering and we have optimism in the air in both employment and economy, there are instances of shortages. The supply chains are broken. The movement of goods are costing nearly 5 times. Automobile electronic majors are telling us that they're benefited by months of advance orders, but they have inability to supply because of production shortfall of microprocessors and semiconductors. And of course, the biggest, the shortage of right skill. And that's what every talent manager and CEO must plan when they are doing the rebuild period, because it is the workforce which will help you flourish in an economy like this, which is growing. It's an investment. It's no longer a cost. So we have to bake it into our annual operating plans and into our goals that we make for the years to come. Today, through the day, our panelists will talk about some of these topics. And I hope you will take away a lot of important information as to how to rebuild, how to engage with talent, and how to have them grow your organization. Thank you very much.